Next on the hit parade is anti-tank weapons. Again, since the Germans were on the defensive most of the time after we landed in Normandy, they had to come up with a lot of weapons to knock out the amount of armor that we were pushing into Europe. The Sherman tank that you saw riding around was actually a fairly easy tank to knock out with the guy who knew what he was doing. Yes?
And that would be the Panzerfaust.
Exactly, exactly. The first type of Panzerfaust that came in was known as the Klein, which means small, or the 30mm one. This was a hollow-shaped charge, which is similar to a tank round. It was basically a piece of pipe with an ignition system in it. It could be taught to a 75-year-old man in the Volkssturm or a 12-year-old kid in the Hitler Youth to knock out a Russian tank or an American tank. Basically, the sight would pop up, you'd hold it under your arms and line the sights up, push the button, and this thing would launch, I don't know, 50, 60 yards, accurate range more like 25, 30 yards. They would make these little holes, pop out, shoot a Sherman tank in the back or on the side and knock it right out. This could knock out some of the stuff that they had, but they found it was a little light, which means that they came out with the next one, which was known as the 60mm. This is the standard one that you saw most of the time, you know. In fact, the 82nd Airborne captured a whole load of these during the battle in Holland, and when they went into the Bulge, they brought them along with them because they knew what they could do, and they were actually knocking out Tiger tanks and Panther tanks with their own anti-tank weapons. So this thing, again, the sight would pop up, they'd hold it under their arms, they'd push down on the trigger, and you could basically, almost like throwing a spiral football, this thing would go off, and if it hit, this could knock out any armored vehicle that the Russians or the Americans or the British had.
Wouldn't the recoil?
No, all the recoil came out of the back, so you're firing it this way. You wouldn't want to be the guy standing behind it. You get your cigarette lit a little too fast. German machine guns. This gentleman here is going to tell you about one of the best machine guns that were ever in World War II, the MG-34.
One fast point though, those Panzerfausts, the Russians learned real quick. They lost like 90% of the tanks the first week. Like old people shooting them out basement windows as the tanks went by. They learned real quick that you cannot send a tank into a city without infantry first. This is your multi-purpose, German use multi-purpose everything. This is set up for a defensive heavy machine gun position in which they have up to 500 round Fortress cans or regular 250 round cans. Every 250 round cans, you change the barrel. These run about 450, 500 max, the American machine gun. These run anywhere from about 750 to about 950. The 42 could go up to about 1,300, which like basically, this is a 100 round strip, that's about 3.5 to 4 seconds, which means you got anywhere from 18 to 20 bullets a second going down range to something. You can adjust the speed of it by adjusting the muzzle in the front. Different ammo, if you want to run faster or slower. It's set up as a heavy, this is called a Lafitte mount. It has a pipe in the front here, comes out, you can use it for an anti-aircraft. They even put the anti-aircraft sights in these things. It's got a quick change barrel, takes no time at all to change the barrel. It goes right to left for defensive positions. You can swing it right to left as you're firing it. By throwing a lever in the front, a lot of them did it. When they were getting overrun like Russians, they put a 500 round can here, they put the switch back on fire, they would lock it, they'd walk away. It would go back and forth, and the bullets would steadily start dropping down as they came in from the distance. You could leave the machine gun and walk away, make you retreat. This is a semi-auto, so you don't have to open the top and change it. The barrel was quite simple.
Now, Dan talked about how difficult it was to change a barrel on a
unscrew the barrel.
1990.
This here, you have to unscrew the front, and everything else has to unscrew on, take the barrel out. You have to gauge it. The Germans, push the lever, you push it up, moved it forward, fell in the back, you would do it with your hand. They'd have a regular specialist glove. The other barrels, each gun was issued with 4 barrels. You had a metal can. You see them running the German pictures, and it looks like you're carrying a pool cue. It's not. It's a barrel carrier. They have the metal carrier here. They would pick it up. The whole mount would tilt. The barrel would come out. They throw another barrel in. Push it. fired just automatically. The minute you close the door, it's called an open bolt system. The bolt always stayed open on the German machine gun, so cold air could go. Like the MP40 was always open. We always had air. They use round bolts compared to square bolts, because a round bolt, when you fire it, you're getting a puff of cold air blowing down the barrel every shot before the bullet gets into the barrel chamber. This is a multi-purpose infantry, every infantry unit. American used to have every 42 men in a platoon would carry a light machine gun. I used an M60 in my days, which replaced it. We used these actually in the early days in helicopters in Vietnam. Except the empties come out the bottom like the Germans, which is not something you want to walk on an aluminum helicopter. Now, the empties come out the bottom. This is what carries a spare bolt. The belt goes through. You see one guy, you watch the war movies, you go like this, how fast they go through. Every 200 rounds, you change the barrel. The effective range is about 2,200.
It's on the right side of your tail.
You're correct. Sorry about that. Come over here. The effective range was between 18 and 2,200 yards, which is basically, you really open up to 2 miles at least. And you can go and affiliate fire. You can go up and back with it, go back and forth, which means as your men go forward and come back, you can fire the bullets. They have a regular scale over them, constantly provide a deal with fire like artillery. These were very effective weapons. I have a match, that's a match number. The other one has a match number too. They rarely jam. I mean, I've gone to an event where I 10,000 rounds away and they change barrels. The old machines, everything. Now, the one we're going to be using over there after this demonstration, you can see a infantry unit attack a fixed position. And I have an MC-42 over there. That runs between 1,000 and 1,200. I have that one set at 1,100. You know that they're on the rocks. Okay. And we have a little demonstration coming up now with the
Demonstration with the grenade. Right.
We got a lot of people behind us.